In North Korea right now, there are more than 120,000 political prisoners currently in the concentration camps. And there are many different types of camps in North Korea, but the political concentration camps are like almost the Auschwitz. You cannot come out. And in the 220,000 of them, there are approximately 70,000 of them are the Christians. North Korea is a country that punishes Christians are the harshest way. They hate the Christians the most because they expose what is the true God.
In World War II, the peninsula was divided into South and North Korea. The official name of the South is the Republic of Korea, and the North is called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We're going to talk more about why Korea was split in two in a minute, but that divide is a relatively new development. Korea's history stretches back at least 5 millennia and has survived foreign incursions from most of its neighboring countries, including bouts with Mongolia, China, and Japan. They even fought against Genghis Khan. The term Hermit Kingdom was first given to Korea centuries ago because they've always fought to maintain their identity as a nation in isolation from the rest of the world, which makes it all the more surprising to discover how Christianity arrived at its door. The first Westerner to ever set foot on Korean soil was a Spanish priest named Gregorio Céspedes. He came to the southern part of the peninsula in 1593 in an attempt to do missionary work among Koreans, but whatever progress he made, Korean authorities made sure to reverse it. This was a hermit kingdom after all, and it saw Christianity as a threat. That is, until 1883, when a Korean trader called So Sang-ryun fell gravely ill in China, and he was treated by a Scottish missionary named John Ross. Ross had been praying for a way to serve Korea, and this was God's answer. He shared the gospel with So, and So believed. Together, they translated the Gospel of Luke into Korean, which So then smuggled into his homeland. Not too long after, he gathered a group of new believers and transformed his own house into what was the first Protestant church on the Korean peninsula. They met
America's pastor, Billy Graham, drew the kind of crowds in Asia usually reserved for the Pope, famously preaching to more than 1 million people in South Korea in 1973. But there's another story, a largely untold story of Graham's groundbreaking work in the secret state of North Korea. Billy Kim was Graham's translator during his massive crusade in Seoul. It even made headlines in the North Korean capital, Pyongyang.
The North Korean response was the witch doctor from America came, performed the witch act.
2 decades later, the anti-communist pastor was invited to Pyongyang. Graham, an honored guest of North Korea's late president Kim Il-sung. The nation was reeling from the collapse of the Soviet Union. Looking to improve ties with the U.S., Graham brought a private message from President H.W. Bush and a Bible for the North Korean leader.
My wife went to school in North Korea. That was one of the reasons that they could get in and talk to the leaders that made it possible for us to go.
Ruth Graham's parents were Christian missionaries in Pyongyang, a city once called the Jerusalem of the East. Today, possessing a Bible can lead to criminal charges. Graham was the first foreigner ever to preach at Pyongyang's Bongsu Church, one of a handful of Christian churches in North Korea, human rights and religious groups accused of being state propaganda. Graham's 2 trips in 1992 and 1994 helped shape U.S. policy. He offered insight to U.S. presidents and peacemakers.
And I said, Jimmy, what they're looking for is a friend.
He paved the way for other Americans and aid workers to visit North Korea.
We come as your friends.
Including Graham's son, Franklin, whose charity Samaritan's Purse provided badly needed aid. Graham's popularity in South Korea helped make Myeong-sung Megachurch in Seoul the largest Presbyterian church in the world. Weekly attendance, around 100,000 people.
Do you think that there are lessons that we could learn today from what Billy Graham did in North Korea?
We certainly believe that we need to follow the legacy of Billy Graham, says senior pastor Kim Sang-hwan. What he did in North Korea really pushed us to go to the people who are suffering.
The Bible says that he was...
Billy Graham never realized his dream of bringing Christianity to the North Korean masses, but he did crack open the door of a closed society, allowing aid and perhaps faith to trickle in. Will Ripley, CNN, Seoul, South Korea.
By using the language that doesn't even raise an eyebrow, North Koreans pray. Wherever they are, North Korean Christians pray.
Even while facing the harshest conditions, North Korean Christians are finding ways to be faithful to Jesus. It definitely involves a lot of secrecy, and sometimes it even means hiding Christ from your own children.
In North Korea, school teachers, all of the officials in a city, they're specially trained to know how to ask questions to children to cause children to betray things about their family. And so they ask questions like, does your family sing the songs with different words? Understand, right? Because again, many of the songs that Christians would sing are the same songs you'd sing in a juche. That's the North Korean ideology, juche worship service. Does your family have a special book? Do your parents ever look like that they're sleeping and do this kind of a thing, which is like a prayer posture? So one of my favorite stories dispels a lot of the romance people have about North Korean underground Christians. There was this girl, when she was 7 years old, and her parents were Christians, she didn't know it. And so she found, in their home, she found a Bible. And her immediate thought was, I need to inform my teacher, right? Because, now think about that. Her thought wasn't, oh, mommy, daddy, please, I don't want you to get in trouble. Her thought is, I need to go tell my teacher. And so her parents tied her up in a chair until they could properly evangelize her and she could testify to the Lord. So evangelism through tied chair may not sound like the most romantic form of evangelism, but in North Korea, there is no such thing as a normal way of evangelism. So interestingly, the girl grew up and today is associated with one of the most dynamic and effective Christian ministries inside North Korea.